Hello! You're watching Movie Snapshot Scenes, and this is the summary of War for the Planet of the Apes. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Shadows in the forest. The world has changed. The simian flu has ravaged humanity, decimating the population and toppling civilization. Now, nature reclaims what mankind lost. Forests grow over highways. Silence replaces cities, and in the heart of this new world, a war brews, not between nations, but between species. The apes never wanted this war. Led by Caesar, a wise and battle-hardened leader, the apes have sought only peace. They hide in the forests of the Sierra, Nevada, far from what remains of human settlements. They build, they raise their young, they survive. Caesar remembers what it means to be more than a soldier. He remembers family, but humanity remembers only fear. A rogue military faction, calling themselves the Alpha Omega, hunts the apes with brutal efficiency. They are led by a fanatical figure known only as the Colonel, a man who sees the apes not just as enemies, but as a plague to be wiped from the earth. He commands an army of hardened soldiers and enslaved apes, traitors branded as donkeys. 1. Cold morning. The forest is shattered by gunfire. Alpha Omega soldiers launch a surprise assault on Caesar's hidden village. Arrows fly, smoke rises, apes fight bravely, but the cost is great. Though the apes repel the attack, Caesar spares the surviving soldiers, hoping they will carry a message. The apes do not want war. But that message is ignored. That night, the apes return to find their home invaded once more. The colonel himself leads a secret mission into Caesar's heart. He murders Caesar's wife, Cornelia, and his eldest son, Blue Eyes, in cold blood. Caesar is broken. Wrath burns through his soul. Once, he was guided by the wisdom of Maurice, by the legacy of Koba's betrayal. He vowed never to become like man. But now, revenge whispers in his ear. The ape who once fought for peace now sharpens a blade of vengeance. As the apes prepare to leave for a new home, deeper into the wild, Caesar makes another choice. He will go alone. He will hunt the colonel. He will end this war, one way or another. The forest fades behind them. The surviving apes march slowly toward the unknown, burdened by loss, but driven by hope. Guided by Maurice and other loyal leaders, they search for a sanctuary, far from the reach of human soldiers, where they can rebuild and live free. But Caesar does not walk among them. Haunted by the murder of his family, Caesar rides alone, cloaked in shadow. Rage burns in his chest, colder than the snow now falling from the mountain peaks. This is no longer about his people. This is personal. Morris, ever the voice of conscience, refuses to let Caesar go alone. Along with the brave guerrilla Luca and the loyal fighter Rocket, they ride after him. They know Caesar's heart is slipping into darkness, and they will not let him fall alone. As the group crosses abandoned towns and ruined highways, the ghost of Koba lingers in Caesar's mind. Koba, the ape who was consumed by hate and turned against Caesar, whispers from the shadows. Caesar begins to fear he is becoming what he once condemned. Then, in a shattered village, they find a human, a soldier, alone and armed. Caesar is quick to act, but when the man is killed, they discover a frightened child hiding in the shadows, a mute girl, terrified, alone. Morris steps forward, reaching out with compassion. They take her with them, unsure of who she is or what's happened to her. Maurice gives her a name, Nova. She cannot speak, but her presence says more than words. She is not a threat. She is not the enemy. She is innocent. As they travel deeper into the snowy wilderness, Caesar begins to feel the cracks in his soul. The others notice it too. His silence, his anger, the cold light in his eyes. This is not the Caesar they followed, not the leader they believed in. They reach the edge of the human-controlled territory. There, they make a grim discovery. Apes captured and enslaved by the colonel's army. Beaten, forced to work, starved. Caesar looks upon the suffering of his kind, and the fire in his heart reignites, not just for revenge, but for justice. Through snow and silence, Caesar and his companions track the enemy. Footprints in the frost lead them to a remote military compound hidden in the mountains, a fortress carved into ice and concrete. This is the Colonel's base, a brutal prison, camp where captured apes are forced to labor day and night, building defenses, hauling stone, and enduring constant cruelty. But before they can act, the group is ambushed. Luca dies, protecting Caesar. The loss cuts deep, another friend gone, another. Life sacrificed on the altar of vengeance. Caesar blames himself. Guilt and rage now walk beside him, heavier than any chain. Caesar is captured and thrown into the prison. There, he sees his worst nightmare realized. Dozens of apes from his tribe, his people, are held behind barbed wire, starved, beaten, broken. They are guarded not just by human soldiers, but by donkeys, apes who have betrayed their own kind to serve the Colonel in exchange for survival. Among them, Caesar finds Red, a former guerrilla of Koba's faction, now working for the humans. Red looks away, ashamed, but obeys orders. Caesar is chained apart from the others. The Colonel visits him, not with weapons, but with words. He speaks of fear, of sacrifice, of evolution. He believes the flu is mutating, rendering humans mute, reverting them to a primitive state. He sees himself as the last hope for mankind, a soldier, a savior, a god. To stop the virus, he kills anyone infected, even children, even his own son. Caesar sees the madness in his eyes, but also the belief. The Colonel doesn't think he's evil, he thinks he's right. Days pass. Caesar grows weaker. The apes suffer. Snow piles high around the prison. Escape feels impossible, but help is coming. Morris, Rocket, and Nova remain free, and they've found an unlikely ally. A strange, awkward chimpanzee who calls himself Bad Ape. He's a survivor of another colony, hiding in the wilderness. He may be strange, but he knows the terrain, and he wants to help. Together, they begin to plan. Inside the walls, Caesar endures. Outside, hope stirs in the cold. The war isn't over, not yet. The storm deepens. Inside the prison, Caesar watches as his people suffer. Starvation gnaws at their strength. Whips crack across their backs. Even the youngest are not spared. The Colonel rules with fear and silence, determined to break every ape's will, but Caesar does not bend. He begins to communicate with the others through glances, gestures, signals. He watches, waits, learns the routine. The guards grow arrogant. The donkeys stay close, but they do not suspect the fire building beneath the ice. Outside, Maurice, Rocket, Nova, and Bad Ape move through the snowy cliffs, unseen. They scout the prison from above, mapping tunnels and escape routes. Nova, though silent, proves brave and clever. She sneaks into the camp one night, delivering water and food to Caesar. She leaves behind a gift, a small doll, a symbol of care, of innocence in the heart of cruelty, but it becomes something more. The Colonel discovers the doll and, unknowingly, is exposed to the mutated strain of the simian flu carried by Nova. He begins to feel it. Weakness in his throat, his voice cracking, the loss of speech slowly creeping in. Justice, quiet and poetic, has found him. Meanwhile, Caesar suffers again for his defiance. He is tied to a wooden X in the freezing cold, left exposed as punishment. The other apes watch in agony, helpless, but inspired. They begin to believe again. If Caesar can endure, so can they. Then, a spark. Rocket sacrifices himself to be captured, allowing the others inside. Bad Ape uncovers a forgotten tunnel beneath the prison, an old escape route. The plan is in motion. Caesar, barely conscious, is freed by Maurice and Rocket in the dead of night. With the guards distracted by the Colonel's sudden illness, the Apes rise, quietly, coordinated, determined. They dig, they crawl, they escape. But Caesar cannot leave yet. The colonel is still alive, and Caesar knows that if the war is truly to end, he must face the man who killed his family with no army between them. The tunnel opens. The apes are escaping, one by one, silently, into the snow. The prison that once held them crumbles behind them, brick by brick, as hope claws its way through the ice. But Caesar stays behind. He moves through the shadows of the base, broken but determined. This war didn't start with his people. It began with the colonel, the man who murdered his wife, his son, who enslaved his tribe and tried to break his soul. Caesar enters the colonel's quarters. But the man he finds is no longer a soldier, no longer a god. He is dying. The mutated virus has taken hold. The colonel sits on his bed, unable to speak. His voice, his weapon, is gone. His gun rests at his side. His eyes plead for dignity. Caesar stares at him, torn between rage and pity. This man burned his world to ash, took everything, and now he's powerless. A symbol of humanity's last gasp. Lost, afraid, and silent. The colonel picks up the gun, places it to his temple. His hands tremble, but he cannot do it. He looks to Caesar, begging, and Caesar puts the gun down. He will not become Koba. He will not be ruled by vengeance. Not anymore. He walks away, but fate is not done. As Caesar returns to the mountainside, explosions rock the base. A new human army has arrived, reinforcements sent to eliminate the colonel and take control. The soldiers see the apes escaping, and they open fire. A desperate battle erupts. Apes scramble through the cliffs. Snow explodes into clouds of smoke. But then, the earth answers. An avalanche, massive and deafening, crashes down the mountainside. Trees snap like twigs. The humans are swallowed by nature's fury, buried in white. The apes survive, clinging to trees, lifting one another, escaping into the woods. Caesar stands at the edge, watching the final wave of the war consume the last of his enemies. It's over. The war is finished, but Caesar is wounded. A deep cut. He says nothing. He just watches his people, free at last, disappear into the horizon, and he follows, slowly, for the last time. The war is over. The snow settles over the battlefield, burying the ruins of violence beneath a blanket of silence. The colonel is gone. His army, buried by the avalanche. Humanity, once the rulers of the world, now fades into memory. And the apes, they have survived. Led by Morris, Rocket, and the few who remain, the apes continue their journey, guided by Caesar's vision. Across mountains and rivers, they push forward into the unknown, following the hope of a promised land. One, untouched by hatred or war. Days pass. Then they find it. A lush valley, hidden from the world, blooming with trees, water, and light. A paradise. The apes cheer, laugh, weep. Children play. Mothers hold their young. They build, not weapons or walls, but homes. A new beginning. But Caesar stands apart. The wound he took in battle is worse than he let on. It spreads through him, stealing his strength with each step. Maurice sees it first, the way Caesar falters, his breath shallow, his hand pressed tight to his side. Maurice rushes to him. Caesar collapses beneath a tree, the sun filtering through the leaves above. He looks out at the world he helped create. Peace, finally. "I'm home," he whispers. Maurice kneels beside him, eyes full of sorrow. He knows what this means. "You saved them," he says softly. "You saved us all." Caesar nods, his gaze drifting to the sky. He does not cry. He does not plead. He is calm, because he knows he has fulfilled his purpose, not as a soldier, not as a killer, but as a father, a leader, a symbol. He gave his people freedom. He gave them a future. And now, he gives them his final gift, legacy. As the sun sets over the valley, Caesar takes his last breath beneath the open sky. He dies not in battle, but in peace. And the apes, his apes, will remember. His name will be spoken as legend, his face etched in memory, and the world he dreamed of will live.